Hey everybody, welcome back to Sip&Talk. I'm Joe. And as always, I'm ready to dive into some seriously juicy info with you all today. It's like we're mixing up a knowledge cocktail here. Strong stuff, but oh, so smooth going down.
And I'm Sunny, your friendly neighborhood fact checker. I'll make sure we get all the ingredients right. Speaking of mixing things up, you know it's always a good blend? Travel whiskey and discovering awesome new things. You have to check out our friend Mickey's YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yeah, Mickey's the best. He's always got something cool going on. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in the world, whatever time zone you're in. Welcome back to Sip&Talk.
It is a fantastic day to be here with all of you, our amazing Sip&Talkers.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope everyone has a good, strong cup of coffee ready for this one.
You're definitely going to need it today. I mean, usually we keep things pretty light, but the vibe today is, well, it's a little heavier than usual.
It really is. Over the last few weeks, we've just been getting this absolute flood of direct messages. And honestly, they read like SOS signals in our inbox.
Yeah, it's been pretty heartbreaking to read through them.
Right, from our listeners over in mainland China.
Exactly. People are just urgently asking us things like, why is my tech company suddenly forcing me to hand over my passport to HR? Or, why did my sister get rejected by an automated visa machine in Guilin?
Yeah, and we're even hearing about routine transit flights, like just flying through Shanghai, heading to Taiwan, and people are being completely blocked at the gate, which is wild. So it really forces us to ask the big question for our discussion today. Are we witnessing, like, a brand new era of a closed-door policy?
To figure that out, we've spent the week just going through a massive stack of new macroeconomic data, upcoming exit entry regulations, and a ton of historical case studies. Because what's happening right now isn't just, random administrative incompetence.
Right, it's not a glitch in the system.
No, not at all. When ordinary citizens are suddenly paralyzed, unable to move their money, unable to physically move themselves, you have to zoom out and look at the macro picture.
Right.
When an authoritarian system faces a severe fiscal crisis, it follows a very predictable, almost textbook historical playbook.
And that playbook basically operates in three distinct stages.
Right, exactly three.
So first, you have what we call moral justification. This is where the state frames taking your assets or restricting your travel as something highly moral.
Right. They tell the public, we are fighting fraud, or we are protecting national security.
Right, exactly. Always the moral high ground. And then comes stage two, tool utilization.
Yeah, this is where they deploy every single mechanism available to extract wealth and basically lock people in.
And historically, that was literally clipping the edges off coins.
Yeah. And today, it's digital exit bans and global tax dragnets.
Which brings us to the final stage, stage three, which is the inevitable backlash. The state extracts the wealth it desperately needs to survive the quarter, but in doing so, it completely incinerates whatever market trust was left.
Completely destroys it.
Right. But before we get into exactly how they're locking the doors, I kind of want to play devil's advocate for a second.
Okay, let's hear it.
If we are looking for the root cause of this fiscal crisis, don't we have to kind of look in the mirror? Think about our own U.S. foreign policy right now.
That's a very fair point.
Washington's entire geopolitical strategy, our tech regulations, our GPS Act, the tariffs, all of this is explicitly designed to protect our national security, right?
Right, absolutely.
We are actively trying to starve their military-civil fusion apparatus. It's a strategy of basically starving the wolf.
It is, and that is a crucial piece of the puzzle. From our perspective here in the States, our de-risking strategy is, it's a macro-level defense mechanism. We want to protect our intellectual property.
Secure our supply chains.
Exactly. We want to limit their military advancement. But here is the mechanism people often miss. Economic pain is almost never linear.
What do you mean by that?
Well, our blockades might be aimed at the military-industrial complex in Beijing, but the fallout hits the local economy first.
Oh, because the local municipalities over there are completely broke.
Completely underwater, yeah.
I was looking at the real estate numbers in the reports, and it is staggering. Historically, local governments over there funded almost everything like schools, roads, civil servant salaries, through massive land sales to private developers.
Right, it was their primary engine.
And at the market peak in 2021, those land sales brought in, I think it was 8.7 trillion RMB.
Yeah, 8.7 trillion. And today, that revenue has effectively been cut in half.
Wow.
Imagine any local government in the U.S. suddenly losing 50% of its operating budget literally overnight.
It would be absolute chaos. City halls would shut down.
Exactly. It's catastrophic. So the pain hits the grassroots level long before it ever really threatens the core central government. It hits private enterprises, it hits local teachers, and it hits ordinary citizens.
But wait, if you look at their official data releases, they claim everything is totally fine.
Of course they do.
The official GDP figures still report steady growth, and they just claim their exports are up, 16.9%?
Yep, 16.9.
So if the local governments are broke and the real estate market is down 18%, how on earth are exports booming like that?
See, this is where we really have to separate official data from economic reality. That export surge isn't happening because global consumers are suddenly demanding more of their high-value products.
Okay, then what is it?
It's happening due to a mechanism economists call overcapacity price cutting.
Meaning they're just dumping cheap goods to survive.
That's exactly it. The domestic market has completely dried up. I mean, nobody inside the country is buying anything, so these massive factories are just slashing prices to the bone.
Right.
They're selling goods globally at near zero margins, sometimes even taking a loss just to keep cash flowing through the business so they can pay off their massive debts.
Oh, wow. So the volume of exports looks amazing on a spreadsheet, but the actual corporate profits, and I'm guessing the wages for the workers, are essentially non-existent.
Precisely. It's a volume illusion.
Okay, I have to use an analogy here to make sense of this because it's a lot. Imagine a failing family diner. Let's call it the Middle Kingdom diner.
Okay, I like where this is going.
So over the last 10 years, the parents who represent the state borrowed a ton of money to build all these lavish, totally unnecessary dining rooms.
Right, massive overexpansion.
But now, the customers have completely stopped coming. The debt is due. And instead of fixing the terrible menu, the parents start raiding the kids' college funds. They start stealing the waitstaff's tip jars. And all the while, they look their employees right in the eye and say, hey, don't complain, this is for the good of the family.
That is painfully accurate. But, here's the natural consequence of that diner scenario. When the kids and the waitstaff realize their tip jars are being raided, their immediate instinct is to just take off their aprons and walk out the door.
Which perfectly explains why the parents are suddenly installing deadbolts on all the exits.
Exactly.
Because if you're going to raid the college fund, you can't let the kids leave. So let's talk about the new Exit Entry Administration regulations going into full effect on September 15th, 2026.
Yeah, we need to dig into this.
Because this isn't just an overzealous border guard having a bad day at the airport. This is an institutionalized physical lockdown.
It is entirely formalized. In the past, exit bans were generally reserved for people who were, actively facing a criminal trial or massive civil lawsuits.
Right, like actual legal trouble.
Right. But these new regulations dramatically expand the net. They include incredibly vague categories now, specifically targeting anyone deemed and I quote, potential threat to national security or interests.
And national interest can mean literally anything.
Anything they want it to mean.
It could mean you possess technical knowledge the state wants to keep, or simply that you have too much money they don't want leaving the domestic economy.
Exactly. And the craziest part of the mechanism is the total lack of notification.
Right. There's no due process, no warning system at all.
Nothing. The authorities are not legally required to notify you that you've been placed on this list.
That is terrifying.
It is.
Right.
That's how we end up with the airport scenarios we were talking about earlier. You pack your bags, you head to the airport for a routine trip, and you only find out you are banned when you attempt to cross the physical border and the machine flashes red.
We are seeing this hit sectors you wouldn't normally associate with, like high-level state secrets, tech workers and private advanced manufacturing, local civil servants, and even public school teachers.
Yeah, teachers.
They are being forced to physically surrender their passports to their employers. And the local enforcement is where things get truly extreme. It really seems to be driven by arbitrary algorithmic triggers.
No, totally.
Like that case we read about. The young woman in Guilin, she just wanted to renew her visa for a vacation. She used an automated machine and was instantly rejected and flagged.
Yeah, and we are also seeing police visits for people who simply traveled to Southeast Asia.
Oh, right, under the guise of the anti-fraud laws.
Exactly. The state uses new anti-fraud laws as the moral justification, claiming they're, protecting citizens from telecom scams in Cambodia or Myanmar.
But really?
But the actual mechanism is just state surveillance. They just want to monitor who is moving where.
And we really have to highlight that Taiwanese and dual citizens are totally caught in the crossfire here, right?
Oh, absolutely.
because Beijing legally views them as Chinese citizens regardless of their second passport, so they are exposed to the exact same exit bans.
Yeah, that second passport doesn't protect you at the border.
But let me push back on this for a second.
Yeah.
Because from a purely logical management perspective, this seems insane.
How so?
Well, if you physically trap your own tax base, if you lock the doors so your most productive, innovative engineers literally can't quit, they aren't going to work harder for you.
No, they won't.
They're just going to deeply resent you. They'll lie flat, do the bare minimum, and stop innovating altogether. It completely kills the golden goose.
You are entirely correct. In the long term, it creates a massive economy-wide chilling effect.
Right.
But you have to understand the psychology of a local government that is essentially bankrupt. When you can't make payroll for your police force next month, long-term innovation completely takes a back seat to short-term survival.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
You just pull whatever levers you have right now, and if they are physically trapping the people, well, the next logical step is trapping the capital those people are trying to sneak out the back window.
Which brings us to the money. And the capital flight numbers in these reports are just staggering.
They really are.
We are looking at an estimated $807 billion in illegal outflows projected for 2025 alone.
$807 billion.
Yep.
Let that sink in.
People are so desperate they're using underground banks. They're doing something called smurfing.
Right, the smurfing.
Which, for those who don't know, is the practice of breaking up massive wealth transfers into tiny, undetectable amounts.
Right, because of the strict limits.
Yeah, people will hire dozens of mules to carry physical cash across borders, or they'll buy luxury watches in one country just to pawn them in another. All of this just to bypass the strict $50,000 annual foreign exchange limit.
But the state is fully aware of this, and their countermove is highly sophisticated. They are now weaponizing something called the CRS.
The Common Reporting Standard.
Exactly.
Okay, break the mechanics of the CRS down for us, because this isn't just like a standard tax form you fill out, is it?
No, it's an automated global dragnet. Historically, Chinese tax authorities simply didn't have the bandwidth or really the jurisdiction to track offshore wealth. If you moved your money to a shell company in the Cayman Islands, it was basically invisible to Beijing. But under the CRS, over 100 countries now automatically exchange financial information.
Automatically?
Yes. That means banks in Singapore, Switzerland, or Europe automatically push your account balances, your interest income, and capital gains directly to the Chinese tax authority.
So they don't even have to ask for a warrant. They don't have to go through a legal battle. The data just flows into their servers automatically.
Exactly. And now they are plugging all that global financial data into AI and big data systems.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, to cross-reference it against domestic tax returns. They can instantly flag a tech executive who claims a modest salary in Shenzhen, but somehow has millions sitting in a trust in Hong Kong.
Wow. And they are aggressively enforcing this global income tax now, which can run as high as 45% for high net worth individuals, right?
Yep, 45%.
And they are specifically targeting offshore trusts and high-value Hong Kong insurance policies that affluent citizens historically used as, untouchable safe haven.
And here is the truly brutal part. This isn't just moving forward. They are retroactively hunting down money that was moved years ago.
Oh, wait. I really want to make sure I understand this. Say I am a founder who legally, or at least quietly, moved my wealth to Singapore 5 years ago under the old lax enforcement rules.
Okay.
Are you saying they're going back in time to audit that? That's not just a tax bill. That is a retroactive wealth penalty.
It is absolutely a wealth penalty. And it gets even more complicated if you are a dual citizen or a green card holder living in the U.S. or Europe.
Really? How so?
Well, if you left the country years ago but never formally canceled your hukou, your domestic household registration, the state still considers you a full tax resident.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you are suddenly facing double taxation and deep audits on your global assets. And if you refuse to pay or simply don't have the liquid cash, customs steps in.
Because the systems are linked now.
Exactly. The tax system and the border control system are fully integrated. They will slap you with an exit ban the second you land in the country to, say, visit your parents, and they will hold you there until you pay the massive tax bill.
Okay, so local governments are totally broke. The real estate engine is dead. They're locking the physical borders, and they are using AI to hunt down every offshore dime.
It's a perfect storm.
But even these extreme measures aren't fully stopping the bleeding. So what happens next? What unprecedented, completely out-of-bounds actions are we going to see in the next few years?
Well, based on the trajectory in the data, analysts are projecting 4 extreme scenarios.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first is a terrifying mechanism colloquially called deep-sea fishing, or cross-province extortion.
Deep-sea fishing. That sounds like they're crossing into foreign waters to hunt.
It's essentially state-sanctioned piracy, but inside their own borders.
Whoa.
Imagine you are a local police chief in a completely bankrupt inland province. You literally have no money to pay your officers.
Right.
So you look across provincial lines at a highly successful private entrepreneur operating in a wealthy coastal city like Shanghai.
Okay.
You fabricate vague fraud charges, send your officers across the border, arrest the entrepreneur, freeze their corporate accounts, and completely seize their assets just to fill your own local government financing vehicle.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we are already seeing the legal framework bending to allow this kind of localized, legalized robbery.
That is absolute chaos. I mean, if police from Ohio could just drive to California, arrest a tech CEO, and steal their company treasury to pay for Ohio's road repairs, that would destroy the entire concept of interstate commerce.
Would completely unravel the system.
Unbelievable. Okay, what is the second scenario?
Expanded hostage exit bans.
Hostage bans.
Right now, as we discuss, passport confiscations are largely hitting state-linked workers and executives. But this mechanism could easily broaden to target diaspora families.
So people already living abroad.
Right. This means the state could place exit bans on elderly parents or relatives still living inside the country, holding them hostage until overseas funds are forcibly remitted back into the domestic economy by their wealthy children living abroad.
That is just literal extortion.
It is.
Okay, what's next? Because honestly, this is sounding like a dystopian sci-fi novel.
Well, the third scenario is very sci-fi, the programmable ECNY, their digital yuan.
Right, the digital currency.
The physical infrastructure for this is already built. We could see a scenario where public sector salaries or state subsidies are paid exclusively in digital currency that is strictly programmed via smart contracts.
Okay, explain how that programming actually works in practice. Like, how does the code dictate my spending?
Basically, the central bank can embed code directly into the money itself. For example, they can give the money an expiration date.
Wait, expiring money?
Yes. If you don't spend it within 30 days, it simply vanishes from your digital wallet. This forces consumer spending. Or they can geofence it. The code can dictate that these specific digital yuan can only be spent at domestic state-owned enterprises, or completely block you from using it to buy foreign currency like US dollars.
Wait. So my monthly salary essentially becomes a temporary theme park ticket.
That's a great way to put it.
I have money, technically, but the system says I can't buy American goods, I can't save it for retirement, and I literally must buy 2 boxes of domestic rice by Friday before the money deletes itself.
That is the exact mechanism. It gives the state absolute granular control over the velocity of money and capital allocation.
That's terrifying.
It completely eliminates your ability to save or move wealth independently.
Okay, what's the fourth scenario?
Finally, the fourth scenario is geopolitical distraction. When an internal economic engine sputters, this violently authoritarian regimes historically ramp up external friction.
Of course.
We could see severe escalations in the South China Sea, or aggressive posturing around Taiwan.
Because they need a boogeyman. They need something for the public to focus on.
Exactly. It forces a wartime rationing mindset onto the populace. It demands unquestioning loyalty and creates a massive patriotic distraction so citizens don't focus on their evaporating personal wealth.
Wow. You know, this all sounds so dystopian and modern with the AI tracking and the programmable digital currency. But honestly, none of this is actually new, is it?
Not at all.
The tech has changed, but the playbook is ancient. Let's dig into the historical comparisons in the reports, because this is where the puzzle pieces really fit together for me.
Yeah, it's vital to look at history because human behavior at the state level is incredibly repetitive.
Yeah.
Let's look at 17th century France under Louis XIV.
The Sun King, the guy who built Versailles, wore those fabulous high heels and completely bankrupted his country.
Exactly him. His treasury was completely emptied by endless foreign wars and lavish building projects. So what did the state do? They needed money fast. They established special chambres de justice, which were literally tax courts, whose sole mechanism and purpose was to arbitrarily extort wealthy merchants.
Wow.
But more fascinating was how they handled the currency. They literally recalled physical gold and silver coins, physically clipped the edges off them, and reminted the shaved metal to create new coins.
Stretch the money supply.
Yes! stealing the purchasing power from the public to pay state debts.
Literally skimming off the top, they debased the money supply right in front of people's eyes.
Yeah.
And we saw similar desperate measures in the 20th century, too. Let's talk about Germany in the 1930s, moving from the Weimar Republic into the early Nazi era.
Right, so facing massive World War I reparations and severe capital flight as people tried to flee the rising authoritarianism, the state instituted the Reich flight tax.
The flight tax.
If you wanted to emigrate, the state legally stole 25% of your total wealth right at the door.
Just a massive exit fee.
Exactly. And later, they utilized a mechanism called block marks, a form of currency that was completely frozen in domestic banks and strictly prohibited from being spent or exchanged abroad.
Which is the exact analog equivalent of the programmable digital yuan restrictions we just talked about.
It is. They just didn't have smartphones back then to enforce it.
That's insane. And we absolutely cannot forget 1991, the Soviet Union, right before the entire system collapsed. The Pavlov reform.
Oh, yeah. That is perhaps the most brutal historical example of sudden, unannounced wealth extraction.
What happened there?
Well, to wipe out massive, unsustainable government debt and hide the runaway inflation, the Soviet state gave its citizens exactly 3 days' notice that all 50 and 100 ruble notes were completely worthless.
Why only 3 days? It's no time at all.
Well, the moral justification was that they were targeting black market speculators and smugglers. By giving only a 72-hour window to exchange a highly limited amount of cash, it was physically impossible for the underground millionaires to launder their money.
I see. But the collateral damage is that, like, a grandmother who kept her life savings stuffed in a jar under her mattress couldn't get to the bank in time either.
Exactly. It instantly evaporated the public's life savings.
That is just heartbreaking.
It is. Which brings us to the core thematic takeaway of all these historical case studies.
Right.
Whenever a regime runs out of money, they use a veneer of morality to execute what is essentially legalized robbery.
Under the guise of national security or fairness.
Exactly. But the fatal flaw in this playbook is that while it solves a short-term balance sheet problem for the state, it ultimately destroys all remaining social trust.
And once a society loses trust in its currency, its property rights, and its own borders,
the economic engine simply seizes up and dies.
Wow. We have covered a massive amount of ground today on Sip and Talk, from Washington's tech blockades to AI tax dragnets, all the way to 17th century French coin clipping.
It's a lot to process. But if we synthesize all of this, the most crucial takeaway for you, especially if you're navigating cross-border lives or international businesses, is that keeping a clear head is your absolute best defense.
Yeah.
Maintaining independent, critical thinking and ensuring you have total information transparency are the best airbags for your personal freedom and your wallet in this era of high regulation.
I completely agree with that. And I want to make something very clear to everyone listening today. On this show, we are not criticizing any specific country, any ethnic group, or its people.
Right, not at all.
What we are doing is objectively analyzing historical patterns and factual economic mechanisms to understand exactly how severe fiscal crises alter state behavior.
And just as a quick reminder, any mention of asset classes, investments, or taxation today was strictly for data context and historical analysis. It is definitely not financial advice.
Absolutely not. So as we wrap up today's conversation, we want to leave you with a final thought to mull over.
Okay, lay it on us.
We've spent this whole time talking about how an authoritarian state traps capital when the debt bubble bursts. Right?
Yeah.
But if global tax transparency through the CRS is becoming the norm everywhere, and governments can track every single dollar you have, what happens if Western democracies face a massive sovereign debt crisis in the next decade?
Oh, wow.
If our own deficits spiral out of control, will Washington look at this authoritarian playbook, the exit taxes, the programmable digital currency, and be tempted to use a lighter version of it on us?
That is a deeply unsettling question.
And if they do, does decentralized finance, like crypto, become the only permanent escape hatch against state control?
It's a very necessary question to ask, though. The walls around global capital are getting higher everywhere, not just in Asia.
They really are. Thank you all so much for joining us for this incredibly important conversation. Please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for Sip and Talk so you never miss out when we tackle these big topics.
And before we go, we have to give a huge shout out to our good friend Mickey. You absolutely have to go check out his YouTube channel, Mickey to Life.
Yes, he just dropped an amazing new travel vlog all about the locks of love in Rome.
It's a great video.
What is the real story behind those locks? You have to go check it out. It is fantastic, beautifully shot, and we highly recommend it.
Definitely go watch his video.
Head over to Mickey's channel, stay safe, stay curious, and we will see you next time on Sip and Talk.